Hello, my name is Dave Velasco. I am a researcher and student, and I would like to begin to explore the possibilities of starting a YouTube channel rather. My reasons for doing so at present are for fun, treatment for Bell's palsy, which, if you don't realize by now, the right side of my face is paralyzed, and I clearly have some issues articulating certain sounds of the English language. And in lieu of doing speech pathology, I'd like to just practice talking in a more enunciated and more articulate manner so that I might better deal with the effects of Bell's palsy for however long it takes. I've had Bell's palsy since May 19th, and I'd like to share my recovery experience with you thus far as part of the initial offerings of this channel. In addition to that, I'd like to advertise a tutoring company that I've had for a number of years, which because of COVID has sort of fallen by the wayside, but which I hope to gain more clients for, and I believe that starting a YouTube channel will help in doing so. Again, I'm doing this mostly for fun and for advertising, but hopefully I can also work through some ideas as I spend a good time on personal projects along with my research work. And working through ideas has always been difficult for me in terms of collecting a lot of disparate threads of my thinking into one final form. And I like to practice doing something different than just writing everything out and then in my usual fashion trying to make everything perfect from the start. But just trying to explore a more open sort of talking approach that might be useful for me, especially at present, given that I have a great difficulty communicating with people who are unused to seeing someone with a distorted face due to Bell's palsy. Besides that, hopefully one day my channel is as successful as possible, or as practical as feasible, and I might generate some passive income from this channel, but that is the lowest of my priorities given that I don't expect to succeed at this at all, and moreover I expect very few people to want to actually listen to the things I have to say. So what are the things I have to say? That's a good question. Or better yet, how do I phrase that question in a better way? What are the things that I want to share with people now at this ripe age of 32 that I feel that I've learned well enough to share my experiences about and talk intelligently about? I don't know the full scope of that question at present, but my initial thoughts were to work through an idea whereby I might explain some ideas I have about MDL theory. Now, what is MDL theory? MDL theory, briefly stated, is a theory first proposed by Jorma Rissanen, who I believe is a Swedish or Finnish researcher. Correct me if I'm wrong. Who proposed this idea called minimum description length theory, which is MDL, which states that, in some sense, the best explanation is the one that can be minimally described or minimally coded, and this can be used in a number of different ways in different applications. Now, the basic idea of MDL is very simple, but its philosophical and historical roots are very deep, and moreover, it's very hard to apply in terms of practical application. But I think it's a fecund idea. Fecund in the sense that it's fertile. Fertile and ripe for new developments and extensions of the theory as it stands at present. For good work to look at, I would recommend the work of John Goldsmith, Linguistica, Carl DeMarkin, Peter Grunwald, Greg Cobley. This is just a short list of things to look at. And I'll go into this further in later videos. But I'd like to explore this idea of the fecundity, the fertility, the vitality of the MDL principle, and how it might be more broadly applied to questions outside of the realms of, let's say, statistics and computer science and, computational linguistics, but it might be more broadly used in medical research, in cosmology, questions of physics, questions of diagnosis. So I think it can be used for those things. It's just a question of stating the question correctly in the framework of MDL, and and perhaps extending the theory as it currently stands so that it can be more expansive, more mathematically complete, more mathematically rich, and more mathematically vibrant. Now, I'm not going to sit here with a chalkboard and try to explain this in great detail, but I think it seeks to make precise this notion that the best explanation is a simple explanation, but no simpler than it has to be. And I know this idea has been attributed to, hundreds of people over the course of years, but I think it comes down to the notions of Occam's razor, theoretical parsimony, it's the same name by different hats, but that's sort of what MDL gets at, this idea of keep it simple, stupid, but no simpler than it has to be. That's the basic MDL principle, and that's what I'd like to share with you in the course of videos as I begin to work through some ideas that take us from the world of MDL theory, and description link theory, to information theory, to information geometry, and possibly further, depending on how far and how successful my present thinking is at the moment. So I'm going to keep it short and brief and sweet for this first video, and invite people to leave a comment if they are at all interested, because I doubt the YouTube algorithm will rank this video highly in the slightest. But I'd like to offer an invitation to people to join me in this journey as I work through some ideas and talk through some things that may be interesting to more people than just me. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there for now and see if my first initial trifle is at all successful in gaining one person's interest, which for me would be a huge success, given that my thinking is oftentimes esoteric and very scatterbrained, but I think interesting. Now, interesting is a subjective notion, so who knows if I'm right, but at the very minimum, please join me as I talk about Bell's palsy, which I also have some ideas about, which I think I can relate to this notion of MDL in medical diagnosis. So yeah, join me in the journey as I work through some ideas during my recovery from Bell's palsy, and talk through some ideas about the MDL principle and other interests. So yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet, and I don't know what the rhythm of these videos will be, but it's going to be sort of a project born out of wanting to live a more complete life, but not so much, anything more than that. So sure, that's me. Oh, by the way, my name is David Lasco. This will be a YouTube channel about anything I'm interested in, about things on my mind, about things I'm working through, and hopefully you can join me in this exploration if you are at all intrigued about learning about minimum description link principle, Bell's palsy, or anything else I'm related to. I'll attempt to post this video in a sensible manner on YouTube, include relevant links to other things I work on, and sure, please feel free to leave a comment so I have a better idea of what people might be interested in hearing about at present. Thank you, and be well.